And we reached the third section of the course. Let's talk about SQL programming language. As I told you before, there are 4 groups in the SQL programming language: DDL, DML, TPL, and DCL. Let's talk about the first group, which is DDL. It comes from Data Definition Language, and the first command of this group is create. The command create will create a new object in the database, such as table, view, trigger, sequence, and so on. The main structure of this command is the following. We use the create keyword, and then the keyword of the object we want to create, in this case a table. We specify a name for the object, in this case the table name, and then we type in the columns of the table. Column 1 with its data type, column 2 with its data type, and so on. Keep in mind that every SQL command will end with a semicolon. This is one way that we can create a table, by specifying each column individually, but then we can also use this statement in order to create a table and specify the table name, and then use the keyword as to create this new table based on an existing one. So it will create the table as the source table and take the columns that we specify from this one. And if we also want to create this table containing data, we can also filter the data with the where condition. But we're going to talk about this in the query section. Let's move on. The next DDL command is alter. Alter is able to change the structure of a table or its integrity restrictions. In order to see the structure of a table, we can use the command desk table name, meaning that we can use desk customers, and then it will return the columns of the table, the data types of the columns, the integrity restrictions, and all the information about the customers table. The structure of the alter command is the following. We can alter a table and specify the table name and choose what we want to do with this table. In this case, we want to add a new column, specify the column name and its data type. And after this operation, the table will have the same columns as before and the new column that we added. The operations that we can do with this alter command are the following. We can add a new column to the table and specify its data type. We can modify an existing column by changing its data type. We can specify the column name and then the new data type. We can drop a specific column that already exists in the table, and the table will not contain this column anymore. We can add constraints with the keywords add constraint and then the name and type. Here the type can be unique, not null, check, and so on. We can drop, disable, or enable a constraint. So if we don't use a constraint anymore, we can drop it, or if we think that we may use it later, we can disable it, and when we actually need it, to enable it back. And the last thing, we can rename a table with the rename keyword to a new table name. And the last DDL command is drop. We can drop a table by specifying its name, but we also can drop any other object from the database, such as a view, a trigger, and so on. And you see here that I use 2 keywords, cascade constraints. This option is meant for tables that use foreign keys. When a table has a column that refers to another table, then it's actually linked to the other table, and if we drop it, the foreign key will not be dropped by default. So in order to drop the foreign key, we need to use these cascade constraints keywords. That would be it for the DDL commands. I will try to explain these commands more in the exercises section right after we talk about the DML language.